The attack came without warning. On what started as a normal Tuesday morning, every screen on Earth suddenly showed the same message. By order of the Galactic Council, Earth is now under quarantine. This is for the greater good of the galaxy. Captain Sue. Ellie Summers stood frozen on the observation deck of Europa Station, watching as the alien ships moved into position around Earth. The massive vessels hummed with energy as they formed a perfect blockade around humanity's home planet. Her coffee mug slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. "Captain, we're getting reports from all colonies," said Lieutenant Ryan Miller, his face pale. "Every human settlement across 27 systems is being surrounded. They're cutting us off from each other." Ellie's mind raced. Just last month, she had represented Earth at the Council's celebration of 50 years of human membership. The aliens had raised their glasses in toast to many more centuries of cooperation. Now they were imprisoning humanity. "Get me a secure channel to Admiral Harmon," she ordered, her voice steady despite the rage building inside her. "And prepare a stealth shuttle. We need to find out what's really going on." 200 million miles away in Washington, D.C., Admiral Frank Harmon received the news while standing in the war room of the Pentagon. The room had fallen silent, dozens of military leaders staring at the screens showing alien ships positioning themselves around Earth. "Sir," said his aide, "we've lost contact with all colonies. The Proxima Centauri settlement was mid-transmission when they were cut off." Frank's heart stopped. His daughter Kate was stationed on Proxima Centauri B, his only child now trapped behind enemy lines. "Get the president on the line," he said, his voice a low growl, "and bring me everything we have on Council weak points." The president's face appeared on screen moments later. Heather Mitchell looked as shocked as everyone else, but her voice remained calm. "Admiral, I'm declaring a global emergency. As of this moment, all nations are working together. I need options on my desk in 1 hour. Madam President, my first concern is the colonists, my daughter. I know Frank, Kate, and all the others. We won't abandon them. But right now, we need to understand why this is happening." As if answering her question, a new transmission broke through on all channels. A tall, thin alien with pale blue skin appeared on screen. High Counselor Vrex of the Grovari spoke in the smooth, almost musical voice characteristic of his species. "People of Earth, do not resist the quarantine. Your ships have been disabled using harmless energy pulses. Your colonies will be well treated. This action is regrettable but necessary for galactic stability." President Mitchell stepped forward to respond. "Counselor Vrex, Earth has honored all treaties. We demand an explanation for this unprovoked act of aggression." The alien's face showed no emotion. "The Council has voted. The decision is final. Earth presents certain risks that can no longer be ignored." The transmission ended abruptly. 3 days later, Captain Summers piloted her stealth shuttle through the debris field near Saturn. The experimental cloaking technology developed by Earth scientists had so far kept her hidden from Council sensors. She had one mission: get to the Council's regional headquarters on Titan and discover the truth. Landing in the service area of the massive Council complex, Ellie used her diplomatic credentials not yet revoked to enter the facility. She made her way to the secure archives using the access codes she had memorized during her time as Earth's military attaché. What she found made her blood run cold. The files were clear. 6 months ago, Council scientists had discovered something unique in human DNA. A particular genetic sequence that, when properly extracted and processed, could extend the lifespan of certain Council species indefinitely. Simply put, humans contained the key to immortality for the galaxy's oldest civilizations. Rather than propose a fair exchange or trading partnership, the Elder Council races, led by the Grovari and Melosians, had voted to classify humans as a resource rather than a sentient species with rights. The quarantine was just the first step in a long-term plan to harvest humans like cattle. Ellie copied everything she could onto a secure drive and slipped back to her shuttle. As she prepared for launch, alarms began to sound. They had discovered her presence. "Human vessel detected in maintenance sector," boomed an automated voice. "Security teams respond immediately." She fired up the engines and blasted away from the facility, pushing the shuttle to its limits. 3 Council security ships fell into pursuit, gaining on her rapidly. "Not today," Ellie muttered, diving into the thick atmosphere of Titan. She skimmed just above the methane lakes, using the moon's dense clouds as cover. When a gap in the Council's patrol pattern appeared, she shot upward, breaking free of Titan's gravity and setting course for Earth. The shuttle shook violently as a Council weapon grazed its hull, but the engines held. 2 weeks later, Admiral Harmon stood before the United Earth Defense Council, listening as Captain Summers presented her findings. The room grew deathly quiet as the implications became clear. "They don't see us as equals. Never did," Ellie concluded. "To them, we're livestock with a useful genetic quirk." Admiral Harmon stood up slowly. "My daughter is trapped on Proxima Centauri b. Thousands of our people are stranded across the stars. And now we learn it's because these advanced, supposedly enlightened beings want to farm us for immortality drugs." President Mitchell's expression hardened. "Captain Summers, you've done humanity a great service. Admiral Harmon, I'm placing you in charge of our response. What do you recommend?" Frank looked around the room at the assembled leaders of Earth. "Madam President, they believe they have us trapped and helpless. They expect us to either submit or waste our strength in a futile, immediate response." He paused. "I propose something different. We play weak, we act defeated, and meanwhile we prepare." "Prepare for what, Admiral?" asked the Chinese representative. Frank's eyes were cold as winter. "For the greatest surprise attack the galaxy has ever seen. They think 5,000 years of civilization makes them superior. Let's show them what humans can do when our backs are against the wall." A slow nod passed around the table. Earth would not go quietly. The Council had made a fatal mistake. They had threatened humanity but left it with both time and resources to respond. In the darkness of space, the Council ships maintained their silent vigil, unaware that beneath the seemingly calm surrender of Earth, a storm was brewing. A storm that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization and teach the oldest species in the known universe the most important lesson of all: never, ever corner a human. 5 years passed under the watchful eyes of the Council blockade. From space, Earth appeared defeated. Occasional supply ships were permitted through the barrier, bringing basic goods in exchange for small groups of humans who were told they were being relocated to better facilities. In reality, these humans were sent to secret Council labs for testing. But beneath the surface, Earth was anything but defeated. Dr. Olivia Grant wiped sweat from her forehead as she stared at the equations. Floating in the holographic display, the underground lab beneath the Rocky Mountains hummed with activity even at 3 in the morning. Scientists from every nation worked side by side, united by a common enemy. "Run the simulation again," she told her assistant, Sam Nichols. "I think we've almost got it." The computer processed the complex quantum equations. This was their 18th attempt this week. If they could mask the quantum signatures of their ships, they could become invisible to Council sensors. "Dr. Grant," said Sam, his eyes wide. "Look at these readings." Olivia stared at the screen. The test object had completely vanished from the sensors. 5 years of work had finally paid off. "Call Admiral Harmon," she said, her voice shaking with excitement. "Tell him Project Phantom is ready." 2,000 feet below the lunar surface, Admiral Frank Harmon inspected the newest addition to Earth's secret fleet. The massive shipyard had been built in natural caverns on the far side of the moon, hidden from both Earth and Council observation. The ship before him, the EDF Vengeance, would serve as his flagship in the coming battle. "How many ships are ready?" he asked General Maria Lopez, who oversaw the lunar construction facilities. 57 combat-ready vessels, sir. Another 23 will be operational within 2 months." Frank nodded with satisfaction. The ships combined stolen Council technology with human innovation. They were smaller than Council battleships, but faster and more maneuverable. And now, with Dr. Grant's quantum masking technology, they would be invisible until they opened fire. "And our ground forces?" Maria smiled grimly. "The elite units have completed their training with the captured Council weapons. The regular forces are at 97% readiness." "Good. And how is Project Watchtower progressing? I'll let Mr. Richter brief you himself. On the secure communication screen, Alan Richter appeared. The young man had been a cybersecurity expert before the quarantine. Now he led Earth's most ambitious hacking operation. Admiral, we've reached Phase 3, Alan reported. Our viruses are embedded in 84% of Council systems. They have no idea we've been in their networks for years. When activated, the viruses will disable their communications, weapons systems, and navigational controls simultaneously. And the evidence packages? Ready to broadcast to every species in the galaxy. Everyone will know what the Council planned to do with humanity. Frank felt a surge of pride. Humanity had accomplished the impossible, all while appearing weak and defeated to their enemies. Begin the final countdown, he ordered. Operation Silent Thunder commences in 30 days. At today, the Council headquarters on Titan, High Counselor Vrex of the Grovari met with Archmatriarch Salus of the Melosians. The two ancient species had ruled the Council for millennia, guiding what they saw as the lesser races. The human processing facilities are ready, said Salus, her scaled skin shimmering under the artificial light. Our scientists estimate we can begin full-scale harvesting within 1 Earth month. Vrex nodded with satisfaction. Excellent. The human genetic material has already extended the lifespan of our test subjects by 20%. Once we begin full production, we may achieve true immortality. And what of the humans on Earth, asked Salus. They have shown no signs of resistance for 5 years. They believe our story about relocating their people to comfortable habitats. We will continue the pretense until we are ready to collect them all. Vrex looked at the holographic display showing Earth surrounded by Council ships. Such a shame about their species, but progress requires sacrifice, and they are, after all, merely humans. Back on Earth in the White House Situation Room, President Mitchell met with her war cabinet. The room was secured against any possible Council surveillance. Dr. Grant's technology is ready, she announced. Admiral Harmon reports the fleet is prepared. Mr. Richter has infiltrated Council systems. The time has come to vote on the final authorization for Operation Silent Thunder. The leaders of the world's nations looked at each other. This was the moment they had worked toward for 5 long years. Once launched, there would be no turning back. Before we vote, said President Mitchell, I want to remind everyone what we're fighting for. The Council didn't just attack us. They plan to harvest us like animals. They've already taken thousands of our people for their experiments. And my intelligence says they're preparing for full-scale collection. She paused, letting her words sink in. But we also need to remember who we are. We are not seeking blind revenge. We fight to free our colonies, to rescue our people, and to ensure humanity's rightful place among the stars. We will not become monsters like them. The vote was unanimous. Operation Silent Thunder would commence in 30 days. On the colony, world of Proxima Centauri B, Lieutenant Kate Harmon stared out at the Council ships blockading the planet. The colonists had been told the quarantine was temporary, but after 5 years, few believed it. Kate led the colony's resistance from the shadows. They had managed to build a secret communications array in the mountains hoping to contact Earth, but the Council jamming was too strong. As she watched the alien ships patrol, she wondered if her father was still alive, if Earth remembered them. Little did she know that in 30 days the sky would fill with Earth ships coming to liberate them. In his private quarters aboard the EDF Vengeance, Admiral Harmon looked at the photo of his daughter. Hold on, Kate, he whispered. We're coming. Throughout the solar system, humans made final preparations. Weapons were checked one last time. Ships ran silent drills. Computer systems were triple verified. Earth was about to unleash 5 years of bottled rage on an enemy that thought them broken. The Council continued their patrols, secure in their superiority, unaware that humans had turned their prison into a fortress, their defeat into strength, and their isolation into unity. The countdown to humanity's revenge had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The celebration on the Council's central station was in full swing. The highest-ranking members of 26 alien species gathered to mark 5 years since the containment of Earth. Crystal glasses clinked as they toasted their success. "To another 5 years of stability," said High Counselor Vrex, his blue skin glowing under the ceremonial lights, "and to the forthcoming advancements that will extend our lives for centuries to come." The gathered dignitaries nodded in agreement. None questioned what these advancements entailed. The elder races kept such details to themselves. In the station's monitoring center, a junior officer of the Keldari species stared at her sensor screens. Something strange had appeared for just a second, a flicker at the edge of the Sol system. She adjusted her instruments, but the reading did not return. "Supervisor, I detected an anomaly near Earth's blockade," she reported. The supervisor, Ayade, veteran Melosian, barely glanced at her screens. "Just a sensor ghost. The humans have been quiet for years. Run a diagnostic on your equipment." The junior officer hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, Supervisor." If she had trusted her instincts and raised an alarm, perhaps the council would have had some warning of what was coming. But by the time she finished her diagnostic check, it was already too late. Admiral Frank Harmon stood on the bridge of the EDF Vengeance, watching as his fleet of 80 ships emerged from the shadow of Neptune. Dr. Grant's quantum masking technology worked perfectly. The Council's sensor net had not detected their approach. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said his executive officer, Commander Ben Russell. "Quantum masks functioning at 100%. Frank nodded. "Send the signal to Mr. Richter. It's time to blind them." In a hidden bunker beneath the Swiss Alps, Alan Richter received the message. His fingers flew across his keyboard, activating the dormant viruses that had been hiding in Council systems for years. "Executing Operation Blackout," he said to his team. "Virus deployment in 3, 2, 1. Across the galaxy, Council ships and stations suddenly lost power. Navigation systems failed. Communication networks went silent. And on every screen accessible to any species in the galaxy, evidence of the Council's true plans for humanity began to play. Back on the Council celebration station, the lights flickered and died. Emergency systems came online, bathing the panicked aliens in dim red light. "What is happening?" demanded Archmatriarch Salis, her scales bristling with anger. Before anyone could answer, every screen in the room lit up with images. Secret Council documents detailing plans to harvest humans. Footage from laboratories where humans were already being experimented on. Audio recordings of Vrex and Salis discussing humans as if they were livestock. "This is impossible," whispered Vrex, his confidence evaporating. "Our systems are impenetrable." A young representative from the Talari species, one of the newer council members, backed away from the elder leaders. "You told us the humans were quarantined for safety reasons. You never mentioned this." Outside the station windows, space suddenly filled with ships, Earth ships. They appeared out of nowhere, weapons ready but not firing. A transmission cut through the chaos, broadcasting on all frequencies. Admiral Harmon's face appeared on every screen. "This is Admiral Frank Harmon of the Earth Defense Force. For 5 years, the Council has imprisoned humanity while planning our extinction. That ends today." In Earth orbit, the Council blockade ships found themselves suddenly surrounded. The Albert quantum-masked Earth fleet had positioned ships throughout the solar system, emerging simultaneously around every Council vessel. Captain Jack Warner of the EDF Defiance faced 3 Council battleships. In the past, even one such ship would have overpowered Earth's best vessels. But not anymore. "Target their engines and weapons systems only," Jack ordered. "Minimal casualties. We're here to win, not massacre." The Earth ships opened fire with pinpoint accuracy. Council vessels, their systems crippled by Richter's viruses, could barely respond. Within minutes, the blockade of Earth collapsed. Similar scenes played out at every human colony. At Proxima Centauri B, Lieutenant Commander Paul Weber led the Liberation Force. His ships broke through the disabled Council blockade with ease, on Or. The surface, Lieutenant Kate Harmon led the colonists in overwhelming the small Council ground forces. When Paul's shuttle landed in the colony's central plaza, Kate was waiting. "Lieutenant Commander Weber of the Earth Defense Force," Paul announced as he stepped off the shuttle. We're here to bring you home." Kate could hardly believe it. "Earth remembered us. We never forgot," Paul assured her. "Your father sends his regards." Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The humans had not only broken free but had done so with technology that outmatched the Council's. The primitive species had beaten the galaxy's oldest civilizations at their own game. On the Council celebration station, now a prison for the highest-ranking officials, High Counselor Vrex watched in horror as human troops secured the facility. "This is impossible," he repeated. "You were contained, helpless." Admiral Harmon stepped into the room, his uniform crisp, his eyes cold. "That's where you made your mistake, Counselor. Humans are at their most dangerous when they appear helpless." He walked closer to the alien leader, towering over him. "For 5 years you thought we were doing nothing. In reality, we were preparing for this day." "What do you want?" asked Salas, her once proud voice now trembling. "Resources? Territory?" "Justice," replied Frank. "For the people you took, for the colonies you isolated, for the betrayal of trust." Across the galaxy, several Council species who had not known the true plan began to distance themselves from the elder races. The Talari, Keldari, and 5 other younger species sent urgent messages to Earth, disclaiming any knowledge of the harvesting plot. Meanwhile, the Earth fleet pushed deeper into Council space, not to conquer or destroy, but to secure key strategic locations. Humanity had no interest in becoming the new tyrants of the galaxy. President Mitchell addressed the people of Earth from the Oval Office. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. We have freed ourselves and our colonies. We have exposed the Council's crimes to the galaxy. Now we must show that humans seek justice, not blind revenge." On the bridge of the EDF Vengeance, Admiral Harmon received word that his daughter's colony had been liberated. For the first time in 5 years, he allowed himself a genuine smile. "Set course for the Sirius system," he ordered. "The Council's main defense fleet is gathering there. It's time to show them what happens when you corner humanity." The Earth fleet jumped to light speed, leaving behind a solar system free of Council control for the first time in 5 years. The day of reckoning had only just begun. The Sirius system burned with weapons fire as the Earth fleet engaged the main Council defense force. Admiral Harmon watched from the bridge of the EDF Vengeance as Council ships struggled to form a defensive line. "They still don't understand what they're facing," said Commander Russell, studying the tactical display. "Their formations are designed for fighting conventional battles." Frank nodded. The Council races had enjoyed peace for so long they had forgotten real warfare. Their military was ceremonial, their tactics outdated. Against Earth's hardened forces, they stood little chance. "Target their command vessels," Frank ordered. "Disable. Don't destroy unless absolutely necessary." Earth ships darted between the larger Council vessels, firing with surgical precision. Council shields failed under the assault of weapons they had never encountered before. Technology born from human desperation and ingenuity. In the Council flagship, Fleet Commander Dren of the Grovari watched in horror as his ships were systematically crippled. The humans were not fighting as expected. Their restraint was more terrifying than rage would have been. "We must retreat to Sanctum," he told his officers. "The fortress world is our last hope." As the Council fleet broke formation and fled toward their homeworlds, Frank ordered his ships to let them go. The Earth fleet had accomplished its objective. The Council's military backbone was broken. On Earth, the Global Security Council met to discuss next steps. Representatives from every nation gathered in the underground chamber beneath the ruins of Geneva. "The military phase is proceeding better than expected," reported Defense Minister Chen. Admiral Harmon reports minimal casualties on both sides. President Mitchell nodded with approval. "And what of the political front?" 7 junior Council species have contacted us," said Secretary of State Williams. "They claim they knew nothing of the harvesting plans and wish to negotiate separately." The President considered this information. "We need to be careful about dividing the galaxy into human allies and enemies. Our goal is justice, not creating new conflicts." An aide rushed into the room and handed a tablet to Minister Chen, who paled as he read the information. Madam President, we've intercepted communications from the Elder Council races. They've activated what they call the Omega Protocol. They're moving all their populations to their fortress world of Sanctum and preparing for a final stand. President Mitchell frowned. They're backing themselves into a corner. That makes them more dangerous. There's more, said Chen grimly. They've taken hostages, thousands of humans from their labs and processing centers. They're threatening to kill them if we don't withdraw. The room fell silent. After everything they had accomplished, humanity now faced an impossible choice. President Mitchell stood slowly. Get me Admiral Harmon. In deep space, the Earth fleet regrouped after the battle at Sirius. They had suffered minor damage, but no ships lost. Frank was reviewing repair schedules when the secure transmission from Earth came through. Admiral, said President Mitchell, her face grim on the screen. The situation has changed. After she explained about the hostages, Frank felt cold anger rising within him. The Council was using captive humans as shields. We need options, Admiral, said the President. I won't sacrifice those people, but we can't let the Council escape justice either. Let me speak with Dr. Grant, Frank replied. She may have a solution. Hours later, Dr. Olivia Grant addressed the combined fleet commanders from her lab beneath the Rocky Mountains. We've been analyzing Council shield technology since we first encountered it, she explained. The fortress world Sanctum is protected by a planetary shield that we can't penetrate with conventional weapons. She pulled up a holographic model of the shield system. But we've discovered a flaw. The shield works by creating a quantum barrier that redistributes energy attacks across its entire surface. Nothing can get through from the outside. Captain Ellie Summers, who had been promoted to lead the Special Operations Division, leaned forward. You're saying the shield can be deactivated from inside? Exactly, said Olivia. A small team could slip through during their shield synchronization cycle, which happens every 26 hours. Once inside, they could disable the main generator. Admiral Harmon looked at Ellie. Captain Summers, I believe this falls under your area of expertise. Ellie nodded. My team can do it. We'll need the best stealth ship we have and detailed plans of their facility. You'll have everything you need, promised Frank. The lives of thousands depend on your success. 2 days later, Ellie's stealth ship approached the glittering blue world of Sanctum. The planet was surrounded by the remains of the Council fleet, their ships forming a desperate final line of defense. Shield synchronization in 30 seconds, reported Lieutenant Doyle, Ellie's navigation officer. We'll have a 3-second window to slip through. Ellie gripped her seat as the ship accelerated toward the seemingly solid barrier around the planet. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. Now. The ship shuddered as it passed through the momentary gap in the shield. Alarms blared briefly, then fell silent as they emerged inside the protected zone. We made it, said Doyle, surprised. No pursuit detected. Don't celebrate yet, Ellie cautioned. The hard part is still ahead. They landed in a remote mountain region, far from the main Council cities. Ellie led her team of 6 Special Forces soldiers toward the central shield facility, using stolen Council identification to bypass security checkpoints. Remember, she told her team as they approached the main complex, our priority is disabling the shield without harming civilians. The Council leaders are the targets, not their people. Inside the massive shield generator complex, they moved silently through maintenance tunnels, placing small devices at key junction points. These aren't explosives, Ellie explained as they worked. They're EMP devices designed specifically for Council technology. When activated, they'll temporarily disable the shield without structural damage. As they planted the final device, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. A security team had discovered their shuttle. We need to move up the timeline, Ellie ordered. Activate the devices now and head to extraction point Beta. The devices activated simultaneously, sending electromagnetic pulses through the shield system. Above the planet, the massive barrier flickered and died. Admiral Harmon received the signal aboard the Vengeance. The shield is down. All ships, advance to predetermined positions. Remember, surgical strikes only. target military facilities and government buildings. Avoid civilian areas at all costs. The Earth fleet descended on Sanctum, their weapons targeting the specific coordinates Ellie's team had transmitted. The Council's remaining ships fought desperately, but were quickly overwhelmed. In the Grand Council chamber in the capital city, High Counselor Vrex and Archmatriarch Salus watched in dismay as Earth forces breached their last sanctuary. "How could this happen?" whispered Salus. "They were supposed to be primitive, predictable." Vrex had no answer. Outside the windows, Earth ships hovered in formation, their weapons trained on the Council buildings, but not firing. A transmission came, through on all frequencies. Admiral Harmon's face appeared before them once again. "This is Admiral Harmon to Council leadership. Your military is defeated. Your hostages have been located and are being rescued as I speak. Your shield is down. There is nowhere left to run." He paused, his expression stern but not vengeful. "The time has come to surrender." 1 month after the fall of Sanctum, the Grand Council chamber looked very different. Representatives from 32 species sat in a circle, with no raised platforms for the elder races. At the center stood a simple podium where speakers could address the assembly. Admiral Frank Harmon watched from his seat as the proceedings began. Earth now held an equal position among the galaxy's civilizations, no longer the newcomers to be patronized or exploited. The former High Counselor Vrex and Archmatriarch Salus sat in the witness area, their once grand robes replaced by simple, gray uniforms. They were about to face justice for their crimes. "This tribunal is now in session," announced the newly appointed Chief Justice, a respected member of the Talari species. "We gather to judge those responsible for crimes against sentient beings." Frank glanced across the chamber where his daughter Kate sat with the delegation from Proxima Centauri. Their eyes met briefly and she gave him a small smile. 5 years of separation had ended, but the scars remained. Kate had changed during her time on the isolated colony, becoming harder, more determined. Like all of humanity, she would never, again, take freedom for granted. The evidence against the Council leadership was overwhelming. Alan Richter's team had recovered every document, every recording, every order that detailed their plan to harvest humans for immortality treatments. The Council was founded on principles of cooperation and mutual respect, the Justice continued. These individuals betrayed those principles when they classified an entire sentient species as livestock. Vrex stood when given permission to speak. His blue skin had paled during his month in custody. "We acted in the interest of galactic stability," he insisted. "Humans are unpredictable, dangerous. Their genetic material offered benefits too valuable to ignore. Hard choices must sometimes be made for the greater good." A murmur of disagreement ran through the assembly. The Council's actions had been revealed as self-serving, not for any greater good. When it was his turn to address the tribunal, Frank walked to the podium. He had removed his military uniform for this occasion, wearing instead the simple diplomatic attire of Earth's representatives. 5 years ago, the Council betrayed humanity, he began. They isolated our colonies, blocked our ships, and began experimenting on our people. They planned to harvest us like cattle. He paused, looking around the chamber. It would have been easy for humanity to seek revenge, to destroy rather than disable, to kill rather than capture. But we chose a different path. We fought for justice, not vengeance, for reform, not destruction. Frank turned to face Vrex and Salus directly. The greatest punishment for those who saw us as lesser beings is not death. It is to live in a galaxy where humans stand as equals, where the Council they corrupted is now renewed. The tribunal deliberated for 3 days before reaching their verdict. The elder leaders were found guilty of crimes against sentient beings. Their punishment was severe but not deadly: permanent exile to a monitored world, their long lives to be spent in contemplation of their actions. More importantly, the Council itself was completely restructured. The special privileges of the elder races were abolished. All member species would have equal standing going forward. A new charter was drafted, with Earth playing a key role in its creation. In the weeks that followed, humanity began the long process of reconnecting with its scattered colonies. Ships traveled to distant stars, bringing supplies and news to those who had been cut off for years. Dr. Olivia Grant led a new scientific initiative that brought together researchers from across the galaxy. The knowledge that had been hoarded by the elder races was now shared openly. Her first project was to develop an ethical way to use human genetic material to create life-extending treatments that could benefit all species without harm to humans. "We can create a voluntary donation program," she explained to the new Science Council. "Humans can choose to provide genetic samples, and in return, all species will share their medical advances with Earth." Her proposal was accepted unanimously. The very thing that had led the Council to target humanity would now become a foundation for genuine cooperation. Captain Ellie Summers was promoted to lead the first mixed-species peacekeeping force. Her team included members from Earth and 7 other worlds, including former Council enforcers who had been disgusted by their leaders' actions. "Our job is to ensure nothing like this ever happens again," she told her diverse crew as they prepared for their first mission. "No species should ever feel entitled to exploit another." 6 months after the fall of Sanctum, Admiral Harmon stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned EDF Reconciliation. The massive ship was designed not for war but for diplomatic missions and emergency aid. It symbolized humanity's new role in the galaxy. Beside him stood Kate, now a commander in her own right. They watched as ships from 24 species arrived for the first Galactic Trade Summit on Earth. "Did you ever imagine this would be the outcome when they first blockaded us?" Kate asked. Frank shook his head. "I only wanted to free our people and ensure our survival. This new galaxy, it's better than what existed before. Do you think they understand now? What they almost unleashed when they threatened us?" Frank watched as the alien ships entered Earth orbit, no longer as conquerors or controllers, but as equals and partners. "I think they learned an important lesson about humanity," he said. "We're at our most dangerous when cornered, but at our best when extended a hand in true friendship." On a distant education world, a group of young Grovari students gathered around their instructor as she taught recent galactic history. "The reformation of the Council was a turning point for all species," she explained. "It taught us that true strength comes not from domination but from cooperation." A young student raised his hand. "Is it true what they say about humans? That they fought the entire Council and won?" The instructor nodded. "They did. But their greatest victory was not in battle. It was in creating a better system afterward, rather than simply destroying what existed." She looked at her students with serious eyes. "Remember this lesson well. Humans will fight fiercely when threatened, but they will build magnificently when respected. That is why we now have a saying across the galaxy: peaceful as a human, until provoked." As ships from across the stars continued to arrive at Earth, humanity prepared to take its place in a galaxy forever changed by its merciless revenge and remarkable restraint. The species that had once been judged too dangerous to be treated as equals had instead become the architects of a more just cosmic order.